All right, so guys,
All right, bye-bye.
you follow her into her room, and we still got room number 1 going on, finishing up, and then we have Royden's going to be going in there. Royden is a singing psychic from Tasmania. He is going to be doing, individual and group readings, and have your piece of paper and pen out, because he's going to download some messages. Basically, it's going to be songs, and you're going to look up the words from the songs, and that is your reading. So that's going to be happening right now in room number 1. Room number 2, if you like to have sessions with Millie, etc., whoever's still here offering services, they are in room number 2. And that is being managed by Rochelle, who's also an intuitive reader, and she's taking appointments right now to book you with whoever's here. Okay, don't forget, you get 5 minutes free and then reduced show prices. Okay, we have Michelle here. There she is. All right, great. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome to the stage, Michelle. Okay, welcome, Michelle. Let me introduce you. She's joining us from Montana, correct?
Yes.
Right. She is known as a soul journey guide and intuitive medium. Today, she's going to be talking about crossing the veil, mediumship demonstrations from the audience. And what she is known as one of Bob Olson's best psychic mediums for 4 years. She's a soul journey guide and intuitive medium, Reiki Master Teacher, and clinically certified hypnotherapist, and a 3 times best-selling author whose Words for the Soul sequel became best-selling overnight. Yay! Gotta teach me something. Named one of Bob. So she's highly sought after and an inspirational speaker who's known for her ability to help others experientially connect to the higher self in order to live a more balanced and on purpose. You can find her everywhere under Soul Felt Words. Soul Felt Words. Welcome to the stage, Michelle.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. So I like to be able to, first of all, just ask everybody to choose your position. What I mean by that is, if you're here and you know that you'll be here for a little while, I'd like for you to imagine yourself settling into what I call the inner circle. It's a really intimate place, and when I feel you in the inner circle, it allows me to keep the energy moving in a nice, beautiful fashion. If you know that you're multitasking, for example, you're trying to run, for example, Vicky, he's kind of trying to do engineering, or you're a host and you're going to be multitasking, just imagine yourself on the outer circle. It's really helpful for those of you who are here to really experience this and to go deep. It causes the energy to stay confined in a way that you can really benefit from it. So that being said, now that we've set up those deep connections and intentions, I just want to ask you to check in with yourself. Now, some of you might have just came out of a guided meditation. Some of you, this might be new to you, and you're just starting out. You might have just came here specifically for this particular talk. Wherever you are, I want you to just notice for a minute yourself, your breath. Breath has been proven again and again in all different traditions, in all different venues, and with different spiritual teachers. It's been proven to connect us with the essence of who we are. Some call it God self, some call it infinite intelligence, some call it higher self. Use your own words, whatever resonates with you. But the breath and the spirit are one. They're connected both spiritually and physically. It's what keeps us alive. And once we stop breathing in this physical body, we do continue to breathe through the spirit. And so it's this beautiful connection. So what I'd like for everyone to understand is that the intention that I've set for everybody during the time that I have tonight is to help everyone begin to experience what it feels like to cross the veil. Now, before we do that, I want to explain just a couple things. First of all, there's semantics in terms of what does it mean to cross the veil. We oftentimes are crossing the veil, and we might not even recognize that we are. If you've ever gone for a walk in nature and all of a sudden you just get the chills, like, whoa, or you start to connect with your heart and you start to feel very emotional for no reason. You start all of a sudden, wow, that painting or that drawing on the wall, or the way that person just looked at me, it felt like some kind of a connection. Crossing the veil is simply of words, phrases that we use that mean that we recognize that there's something beyond the physical. So you wouldn't be here if you didn't already believe that you could cross the veil. It's just sometimes we need people to help us validate or affirm or help us with some pointers or tips, things that we might not have seen before. Now, when I was sitting in meditation prior to this event, I was asking of my higher self. And what I mean by that is my God self. We're all connected to it. Some people call it the overall field, the matrix. We're all connected to it. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever had a great idea, for example, my novel, I had this idea that we're addicted to drama, and that drama is just as addictive as cocaine or heroin. And I spent 10 years researching the addiction to drama. And I did everything that I could to write a book that would appeal to the subconscious mind and would help people get out of dysfunction and drama. How do we get out of it when we know that we're born into it and we think that drama and dysfunction is normal? So we call it normal, but then we start to compare ourselves to other families who don't necessarily have that kind of dysfunction and chaos. And we say, oh my gosh, I'm stirring it up and I'm causing myself to pick a fight with my loved one, or I'm causing myself to look for ways to stir up drama because, let's face it, we can get addicted to it. Well, this was my issue as a kid. So I'm bringing this up as an example because as soon as my book went public, what started to happen is people all around the world started opening up businesses and started adding to their practice addictions to drama. Science, if you now Google it, science has proven that the brain gets addicted to drama in the same way that it gets addicted to drugs. So as soon as this happened, I was like, wow. And then I was reading another book that said, well, whenever we have a good idea or an idea comes in and it seems like somebody else has that same idea, or we don't act upon it, and it's not long after somebody else takes it and runs with it, it's because we're all accessing information from the same place. So where is this place? What is it called? Well, that's the great unknown. Some people call it the quantum field. As I said, some people call it heaven or Akashic field or records. Whatever you call it, just know that it exists. And because it exists, that is what I mean when I say crossing the veil. So it's beyond what we can physically touch or smell or feel or know in this particular earthly human experience. It's beyond that. So some of you have a soul desire to connect with people who have passed, and other people have these soul curiosities to connect with their starseed families. And some people have desires to connect with what they're calling their spiritual family, be it spirit guides or angels, or again, there's all different names for it. My truth is not always going to be your truth. My semantics are not always going to be your semantics. How I was brought up in terms of my beliefs are going to be very different than yours because we're all unique. That being said, whatever this unified field is that we're all so curious about connecting to, most people can agree that when we do connect to it, we want it to be clear, we want it to be kind, and we want it to be accurate. And so that's what I'm I'm setting for my intention is that we're connecting into this unified field, this God source plane of reality. We are crossing the veil in a way that allows us to be crystal clear on our intentions and on the information that we receive. Now, the last thing that I want to say before I actually bring you into the guided meditation, because depending on how you learn, if you're a real thinker, let's say you're what many people call a clear cognizant. You are, I know because I know. And because I know, I can't necessarily tell you how I know because there's nothing tangible there. I'm not smelling anything. I'm not seeing anything. I'm not hearing anything. And I'm not feeling anything. It's just a gut knowing. If that's you, then you also have a tendency to get into your head, get in your own way and overthink. And if that's happening, then what can happen is you can trip yourself up. You can get in your own way. Now, we all have this, by the way, but it's in different degrees in terms of some of us are more of a, like for me, my primary is a clairaudient, and I'm also a very strong clairsentient. And so I have some claircognizance abilities that can get in the way at times if I allow them to. Engineers, people that are really strong in engineers, left brain thinking, doctors, lawyers, anybody who's always doing a lot of analytical things or behind the scenes things has this claircognizance where the small self, let's say it, the egoic self, the human self has a tendency to get in the way and trip us up when it comes to higher self connection. So since we all have it, I'm just going to simply say that the easiest way for you to connect with your intuition in a way that will make sense to you, in a way that you can trust, is to know two things. One, there's nothing that I'm doing. We all have free will. As a soul journey guide, as a shaman, as someone who goes in and helps you cross the veil and holds the space for you, there's nothing that I can do to get you to connect with your intuition. It's all you. I can offer you tips. I can hold the space for you. I can do everything that I know humanly possible to do as well as spiritually possible. But if you don't trust yourself, then it's not going to happen. So I use tools of hypnosis because all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, and hypnosis is exactly the kind of state that you go in. Some people call it theta waves, brain waves, in terms of when we are in an intuitive state, when we're deep within, when we're reflecting, when we're in flow, we're in that synchrony in terms of left brain and right brain. So if you are doubting yourself at all, and I'm not saying just a tiny bit, I guess I should reword that. At all could be taken that way. If you're doubting yourself a bit, I'd say that's good, because we do want to doubt ourselves a bit. Because if we leave our doors open too much, by the way, clairsentience and empaths, this can happen. If you leave your doors open too much, then you can start attracting things that trip you up. Your heart gets over flooded with emotion. You start picking up on past life energy. Can we say this has been happening for the last 2 weeks, right? With everything that's been happening astrologically between solar phase and Schumann resonance and the lunar eclipse and all this stuff. So we don't want to allow ourselves to be so open that we get flooded and overly emotional either. So there is a delicate balance with all of this. So you want to doubt just enough that it causes you to question whether or not this is my truth. If we can still question, then that's a good place. But if we start to move into questioning our truth, in other words, once we receive the answer, if it feels good and we know that it's truth, but then we keep questioning it, that's when we're going to spin ourselves out. So I tell people it's equivalent to being in a car and you're driving the car and it's late at night and you know you have your headlights on, you can see the light, you can kind of see where you're going right ahead of you. But there's a small part of you that says, I wonder if one of my bulbs is burnt out. Because I can't actually physically see my headlights in front of me, I'm not out there looking at the front of the car. I need to actually stop the car and look to see if my headlights are both on. Now, as soon as you see that they're on and you get the, yeah, you're good to go, if you question yourself and you move into the questioning state and you're doubting yourself too much, you're not going to get anywhere. You're too much in headspace. And so it would be like driving the car, questioning whether or not the lights are on, and then just standing there and going, yep, I see they're on, getting back in the car, driving a little bit, but maybe it went out. I need to see, I need to look again. It's silly. You're not going to get anywhere. And it's the same thing with intuition. It's the same thing with soul journeys. It's the same thing with self-reflection. It's the same thing with going deep. Call it what you will, crossing the veil, going into the afterlife. So for people that are stuck, let's say, in left brain mode, and they have a tendency to doubt themselves or question their truth too much, sometimes it takes several private sessions before they can get out of the headspace and drop down into their primary receiving space, which, by the way, if you are claircognizant, your primary receiving space is your gut. It's the I know because I know. And if you're trying to figure it out from here, you're going to trip yourself up every single time. The same with those of you who are very clairsentient. You have a lot of sensitivities. If you try to connect too hard and put yourself out there too much, it's like years ago when you would try to start a vehicle and you can flood out the car. It's like there's too much emotions and you're not going to get anywhere. And so there's such a delicate balance in terms of using, by the way, we have 3 brains, using the head brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. We have to know the order of how to use it and how to use it in a way that keeps us clear. So I have taught, by the way, 9-month courses on how to cross the veil. And I've used lots of different techniques because every person is different. And so for some reason, you get nothing tonight. Please don't be discouraged. Please know that it's just simply the approach that we're taking and that we might have to come at it from a different way with you, but please don't give up. All right. So what I'd like for you to do now is to remember what I just shared with you, that as you cross the veil, it's completely up to you. That you will only go as far as you trust yourself to go. I also want to add that because we're moving from physical energy into spiritual energy, that it's going to feel like you're making it up. When we cross the veil, the very first thing that our ego mind, our logical mind says is either this is stupid, this is dumb, I can't believe I'm spending my time doing this, or it says, this is too crazy, this is too unreal, this isn't practical. What I tell people is, this is stupid, this is dumb, this is a waste of time, is because your ego is starting to feel threatened. And it's knowing that you're trying to get out of, the little self is going, no, because the higher self's starting to take over. Keep going. And the second thing is if it feels like you're making it up, celebrate. Celebrate, because you're moving in the right direction. In order to connect with your intuition, you have to move through the world of imagination. You have to. It's the only way it works, because the right brain has to lead. The right brain is about creativity. It's the feminine energy. It is the imagination. It is the play in all of us. So if it feels like you're making it up, celebrate and keep going. All right. So you're going to see me close my eyes, and I do that simply because that's how I work. So do what works for you. I'd like for you all to take some nice deep breaths now, if you would, keeping in mind, if you're here and you're going to stay the duration, energetically bring yourself into the inner circle. If you know that you're going to have to leave, just like in a room, kind of keep yourself toward the back, toward the door, bring yourself to the outer circle. Now, as you're breathing, Nice deep breaths. I'd like for you to notice what it feels like to breathe. Now, I know that sounds silly, but it really is important. Remember what I talked about in the very beginning about breath and about how it's connected to spirit. So, how conscious are you of your breath, first of all? How trusting are you of your breath, second of all? Now, depending on how it is that you intuitively learn, the answer might be different. If you're very, very conscious of your breath, are you trying to control your breath? And if so, I'd like for you to recognize that it's because your little self is trying to get in the way of big self. Your body already knows how to breathe, just like it already knows how to beat your heart. So just simply breathe, but set the intention that your breaths are going to be a little more elongated, a little more deep down into the belly. Good. Now, if you're lying or sitting down, I want you just to notice your tailbone for a minute. Now, we all have a tailbone, a coccyx for a reason. That particular energy is right at the base of the spine. That particular energy can be very helpful, especially if you are a little more scattered. If you're someone who channels a lot, you're having a hard time staying in your body, it can be very helpful to use your tailbone and to visualize, picture, imagine, again, pretend that your tailbone is just as long as your legs. Just as long as your legs. So it almost feels like you're seated on a three-legged stool. As you're doing this, just notice your breath again. And notice where you're noticing from. Now, what I mean by this is many people, especially people who are claircognizant, they're in their head. And when they breathe, they imagine from the tower of their head that they're breathing and controlling. What would it be like just to be in the tip of your nose as you breathe? Good. Now, what would it be like to be in your chin as you breathe? For some of you, it's not so easy. It's a little more difficult. It's too much of a leap because you've lived in your head for so long. If you want to know how to get out of your head, set up a session with me. It's going to take a little bit more than today, but I'll give you a couple pointers. First of all, if you can be in your nose, which most people can, you can then be in your chin too. But sometimes you have to come at it from a different pathway than you're used to. So in the same way that you can be in the tower of your head, pretending that you're looking down the tip of your nose, and you can feel a little bit of a strain behind your eyeballs down into the tip of your nose. And then you can take a deep breath and you can just be in the tip of your nose. You can also notice what it's like to imagine that you're in your chin and just be in your chin. Good. Now, some of you are feeling yourself bouncing back and forth between the chin and the tower and the head. When you're in the tower of your head, checking yourself, it's very similar to getting out of your car and checking to see if your headlights are on. You got to trust that you're there, and you have to stay there if you want this to work. Remember, you're only going to go as far as you trust yourself to go. Good. Now, what's it like to be in your left ear? And now your right ear. Good. Now, what's it like to imagine that you have your entire face looking out the back of your head? A little bit different, right? So the techniques that I'm teaching you right now in terms of being able to go into your nose, into your chin, into the left side of your head, into the right side of your head, circling your face around and imagining that you're breathing outside the back side of your head. All of these tips and techniques, believe it or not, are helping you learn how to cross the veil. Now you might say, how is that so? We're starting to work on your imagination. We're working on your energy field. Now, those of you who are already very heart-centered, you're already very trusting of yourself. If I said to you, drop down into your heart and breathe from your heart, most of you can do that. I just want you to practice that for a moment. Those of you who are noticing that you're in your head, imagining that you're in your heart, this just means that you haven't had a lot of practice leaving this energy field from your chin up. And so you just keep practicing moving around different positions in your head and around your head. And then you slowly start dropping. My best advice to you is, rather than come at it this way, put your head, your face, and your awareness behind yourself. And then slowly, as I like to say, since I'm in the mountains, mountain climb your way down toward the chest area. And that's how you can get down into heart space. Why is this important? You've heard everyone talk about the importance of centering. When we're in the center of who we are, when we're down between the belly and the heart, we're in that particular region, we're centered. Now, most people who are centered with their hearts, what they're feeling when they're breathing is they're feeling a huge pull outward. If you're an empath, you often can drop into your heart and you can pull outward like this. I encourage you to practice what's it like to go back behind yourself, because most empaths don't feel all that supported. They support a lot of other people, but they don't necessarily feel supported. The reason why is they have so much energy in front of them, but they don't practice being supported by letting the energy behind them be just as vast or just as wide. So I know these are kind of strange tips that I'm offering everybody in terms of, wow, I didn't realize this is what we're going to be doing today in terms of crossing the veil. But what I will say is that, just as Sheri mentioned, I was on a top 10 psychic medium list, which, if anybody knows Bob Olson or afterlifetv.com, it's quite prominent in terms of, I was very fortunate. Let's just say I had no idea I was going to be discovered. It just sort of happened to fall in my lap. It helped me become a best-selling author. It helped me be beside people like James Van Praagh, and it was very nice, and I appreciated it. And at the same time, I recognized that doing this 24/7 and doing it for 4 years in a row and helping people connect with their loved ones, as beautiful as it was and as grateful as people were, I recognized in myself that mediumship, and only mediumship for me, was not as fulfilling as I had needed it to be. I had Reiki Master Teacher abilities and hypnotherapy abilities, and I'm a medical hypnosis teacher. And so people with medical conditions come to me, and all of those things were missing when I was doing only mediumship. And I also recognized that people were really wanting me to give them their answers. They were wanting quick fixes. And they would come to me and they would say, hey, what does my loved one say? What did my loved one tell me? What did it tell me? And I'm more about being able to teach you how to teach yourself, how to empower you, how to help, so you can help yourself. That's really my goal. I believe that everybody at some point needs someone to give answers, because we're very lost, especially when we're in a state of grief. We need hope to know that our loved one is okay. And there's plenty of people who can do that beautifully. And at some point, after you get enough messages from enough people, you get to a point where you're ready to learn how to do it on your own. And I will say that it's not quick if you haven't practiced. It can take, just like anything else, it's a discipline. And as I mentioned, I've had, a 9-month course that I offer to people specifically on this. But by the time 9 months are over, people are able to connect not only with their family members who were here on earth with them, but they can connect with their star family. They connect with their spirit guides, their totem animals, etc. Now, everybody here, I can feel, is very talented. We all have our own unique abilities, and there's people here that I'm sure have techniques that I can learn from as well. I do hope that this evening that I have taught a little bit of something in terms of being able to help. And as I understand it, because this is my first time in this forum, as I understand it, I'm going to be able to work with people privately for those who want to join me. And that will be, as I understand it, in kind of the Playroom area. And then I'll be doing specific privates with people. I want to just mention what that looks like kind of compared to what you just experienced. So those particular sessions are a little more intimate. So for example, when you go to a traditional psychic or medium, they oftentimes don't want you to say anything. They say, don't tell me anything. And then they'll start reading you. I'm very different in the fact that I need you to talk. I need to hear you. I need to feel your vibration because I'm so clairaudient. And I also need to understand what your intentions are, because I have a promise to myself, which is why I'm here to help you with self-empowerment. I believe probably in other past lives, I probably took people's power away. And so I'm a little more careful in that area. It's like, I'm all about self-empowerment. And so I will say to you, should we have a private together, I will say, what specifically are you hoping for? And if you specifically say, well, I'd like to meet the love of my life, or I miss my grandmother, she's passed. Well, now I know the direction to head with you. And I use oracle decks. And so the oracle decks that I bring forth are simply for those of you who sometimes need that tangible evidence. It can be helpful to have a card sometimes in front of you, and you can look at it and you can go, oh my gosh, the card that you just picked is holding, a specific something, and that was my son's favorite toy, or that was my grandmother's favorite bird, or whatever it is. Sometimes we need that. We need that specific proof. And then from there, I will ask you, what are you picking up on when you look at this card? What are you noticing? And you will share whatever insights that you're getting. And then from there, I will help come at it from another angle, from another perception, very similar to me saying many empaths are coming at it from this direction, when in actuality, they need to be more supported from behind. I'm able to see things perhaps differently because I work with potential energy. So some people are working in the energy of creation. I work in the energy of potentiality. And so what that means is that I can look at things from all different perspectives, different angles, and I can feel where people are being blocked or where they're struggling. And I can also offer validation and affirmation. And sometimes it's difficult to put into words how I show up, because I am so unique to every single person. I've had people tell me to know Michelle is to experience her. So I don't know if I've been as specific as some of you are looking for, but I do know that I will be offering some quick samples in terms of how that works in the next couple minutes here. So if somebody wants to volunteer, I can absolutely like use this person as a, let's call it a surrogate so that everybody can experience my work. So if anybody here would like that, just let me
I'll
know.
volunteer.
I'll give you a quick, who is that?
Me, Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Could be better, but I'm doing all right.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the honesty. I'm going to put your picture up here so that I can see you a little clearer. I think I can. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So how can I help?
What is my life purpose and mission in this lifetime?
Okay. Life purpose and mission. Let's see. What card deck am I being drawn to? Yeah, for some reason, Diana Cooper's coming in. So I usually use 3 decks. I have so many decks, and I'm sure a lot of people who are here do as well. I sort of love my decks. And so whenever I do anything like this, I muscle test for what 3 decks I need to pick. It's just my thing. So I'm going to pick a card and we'll see what comes in. All right, so this card is coming in. First of all, I don't know if you can see this, but it's really beautiful. Let me see. Can you see the bear?
Yes.
Okay. It's really beautiful. I really love Diana Cooper. I love her art, and I love how she's always coming forward. So do you see what it says? Can you see that right here? Use the power of your own, use the power of your own wisdom, right? So when you throw out a question such as, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? You're setting yourself up for a letdown. You really are. It's like it's a setup for your ego to be disappointed. It really is.
I don't know if I believe that, and I think that's limited belief with some people. I think you can tune into your higher self and get answers to like why you're here for.
Yeah, right. But when you ask the question the way that you did, you can set yourself up for disappointment. Okay.
Oh, I see.
So when
Sometimes,
you come in, when you come in, you're like, why am I here? What's my purpose? What, here's the thing is Bear, anybody who knows animal totem medicine, Bear is immediately saying, go within. Bear knows when to go within, when to hibernate, when not to, right? So if you and I were in a private, this is what it would look like. Okay. Since you volunteered, I would say to you, how often are you going within? How often are you meditating?
Every day.
Every day. Tell me what that looks like.
I go in my heart center space and meditate and go into prayer and try to connect to my higher self because I can connect with it through my heart. Okay. So here's what I'm picking up on energetically. Okay. I try. You look up the word try. Try is trying. It's already hard. It's already difficult. I'm trying to do it. I'm coming at it from masculine, right? When you go into meditation and you have the idea in mind that you're actually going to be connecting with your higher self, again, you're already setting yourself up for a letdown. You're already connected. You and your higher self. I agree. That was just that came out wrong. That came out in my mouth wrong.
Okay. You and your higher self are already connected. Okay.
Yes.
So let me ask again, when you are meditating, how do you know that you and the essence of who you are, you and God source, call it with you what you will, higher self, how do you know that you're fully online? How do you know?
I get clairvoyant messages in my head.
Okay. Keep going.
I get clairaudience sometimes.
Okay. And what's been happening that you haven't got that?
Well, sometimes there is some sort of interference going on sometimes when I'm going through a spiritual experience. I do have some interference that is holding me back. So I'm just trying to get through that. Okay. So the interference that I'm picking up on is that you overthink.
Okay.
The message comes in and you're trying so hard to figure it out and placing meaning, that's funny, meaning on it, that you're getting in your own way. My best advice for you, because you are such a deep thinker, when we have philosophical abilities, which you're such a deep philosopher, you want to know some of the toughest questions. And I was this way too. I remember coming in and asking my grandmother all these questions, and she was like, they're mysteries, they're mysteries. Like that was her answer for everything. So because you have that, and you have that ability to look at the world outside of Earth, and you can travel astrally, and you can go so deep, you can trip yourself up by trying to place meaning on it, when in actuality, there's no definition to the things that you're experiencing. There's no definition. You can't put words or definitions to the areas that you're in. And so you'll receive little flashes of insight or little sounds. Have you gone into your Akashic records? Because it feels to me like, okay, thank you. So when you go into your Akashic records, that's when you can be specific, right? So I'm being drawn to go down here, and I have like a minute left. Okay. So I'm going to just do my best here. When you go into your Akashic records, you're following all the rules. I can feel you're getting your questions ready. You're being very specific, but here's the issue. Here's where you're tripping yourself up. You're asking the question from here, and you're waiting to receive the answer from here. Because when you go into meditation, you're getting visions from your third eye. So why wouldn't you stay here? I totally get it. I'd like for you to go into the Akashic records. Just give it a try. And instead of staying here, when you get your answer, I want you to drop all the way down into your belly. Breathe from your belly and stay there with nothing. You have no anticipation of the answer. In fact, you even forgot the question. I want you just to allow yourself to go back into the breath, back into the space of potentiality, back into the place of receiving. Breathe from there. And I always tell people it's similar to if you're standing on the edge of a beach, and you know that the wave is going to come back in, but you have no idea when. You're closing your eyes. You're going to trust that it's going to come, but you can't rush the wave, right? You're just going to sit there and you're going to enjoy yourself. And then at some point it's going to come in, and there it is. It comes to you, and then it comes back out, and then it comes to you, and it comes back out. It's that kind of energy, Ryan. You stay in your belly as you're receiving the answer, because what it feels like is you're going in, you're asking the question, and then you're staying here, and you're not dropping back down.
That's true. You're right.
Okay.
So thank you very much. So I will definitely try that. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone. You got kind of a feel for how I do this. So I appreciate having the floor. And if you want to see me, I'll be in the psychic booking room soon. So thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Don't go nowhere. We're going to have you do a door prize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So wasn't that great? That was a breath of fresh air. That wasn't very, I was glued here. Wasn't that good? Yeah, thank you very much. And you guys can listen to it on Facebook later after the event is over, because it's up there right now. And you can also buy recordings of the event. If you haven't made a donation, we do rely on donations to keep this event going. And donations will get you copies of all the recordings from the main room. So we're going to do a door prize. So everybody in the chat, put a number from 0 to 100, and Michelle's going to write on a piece of paper a number. And if you want to do some Q&A or any questions in your room afterwards, Michelle, you can do that, or you're going to be open up for sessions, because she'll be in the Playroom at 8:30. That's in an hour and a half. She'll be in the Playroom doing an experience. So she is available right now for private sessions. Okay. So
Sheri, hi.
Hi.
Where do you send a donation?
You can do PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. You could go right to Healers Network. Oh, here it comes. It's in the.
Okay, okay,
Cool.
perfect.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. So put a number in the chat from 0 to 100 to win a session with Michelle. And if you're listening to us on YouTube or Facebook, you have to be here. And we're still going on for a few more hours, so come check it out. It doesn't cost you anything to come in the doors. Go to bit.ly/11 528 fair, 528, which is the date and the word fair. Okay, so ready? We're gonna do a number choice. I'm gonna do a countdown 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. What is your number, Michelle?
Sheri, I really think it's funny that you just accidentally said 11, because that is my number. So
What did I say?
oh, the background thing's weird. Okay, it's 11.
What did I say?
You when you did the bit.ly, you said 11 instead of 5 at first, and I was just, wow, that's cool. And then is it Houston?
That's my number.
Awesome, good job, congratulations.
Yay.
I'll private message you how to get your dog.
Okay, thank you.
As long as you didn't win another prize. Did you win
I have-
anything?
No,
Nope, you didn't win anything yet today?
No.
Okay, good.
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. That's funny. I didn't know where that came from. It just came out of my mouth. Like 5:11. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to follow Michelle to her room, exchange information, emails or phone numbers, or whatever it takes for you guys to redeem your appointment. If anybody has any questions for Michelle, you can ask her and follow her in room number 88, and she'll be available as soon as she gets into room number 2.
Okay,
And if you're interested in appointments, go to room number 2 and Michelle will start booking for Michelle until 8:30. Okay. So follow Michelle to her room, go to Soul Felt Words. Soul Felt Words is her website. It's in the chat as well. Buy her book, take her courses, get her sessions.